Hey everybody, I am glad you are here. Today we are back on the Stitches Challenger and doing a job that I really quite frankly have been dreading for a while. We are going to get underneath this car with the wire brush and clean up everything that's underneath where the new frame rail goes and do some drilling and so forth for some spot welds so that we are ready to put that frame rail in the car when it's time. So let's get down and get dirty. I am Mike R, and this is My Car's Shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
As I said, I've been dreading this for a while. I don't like laying on my back and working on stuff, so hopefully we'll get that hoist going soon and be able to get cars up higher in the air and that kind of stuff. But for right now, we got to do what we got to do, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sick of a dose of working on this frame rail, and it's time to move on to other things. I've already been starting to plot and plan the floor pan in the trunk, things like that, what I might want to do for design unless I'm going to duplicate factory. So first thing you could do for me is drop some comments down there and just say what you would like to see. Would you like to see a custom floor pan design, or would you like to see me try to emulate the factory piece as much as possible? Not saying I'm going to do what you suggest, but give me your opinion. Yeah, so I guess, again, it's probably time to just not talk and actually just get after it, get it done. I'd like to get it done before it gets hot. It's going to be a scorcher today, and I'd like to just be done with this dirty, messy, sweaty, disgusting, oh my goodness, it's going to be just a horrible thing that we're going to do. So we don't have a lot to clean up here. Mainly it is back here, which you probably can't see, where the spring perch mounts. I got to clean that up. And then just the floor pan right in here. And then of course up there we need to clean up the spring mounts and drill some spot weld holes and things like that. So it's not going to take too long, but I just really hate flopping around on the floor under a car. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being beyond this, so we don't have to lay on the floor and we can do this in much more comfortable ways. But this is what we have to do right now, because we've got to get this frame in here before the car is solid enough to do anything else with. So let's just stop whining and get it done. Okay, not too bad. Next step is to get some rust conditioner on that and let that dry. And then while that's drying, we will drill holes for spot welding like we did on the other side, so that when we slip this frame rail in, we'll be good to go. And oh, forgot to clean up back here. We got to do that next. But anyway, we'll drill the holes up there so that we're ready to spot weld that in when we put the frame in, which shouldn't be too much longer and probably happen in this episode. So you can see we've got everything rust treated now. I do have to do a little grinding back here. I realize I missed some spot welds, but that's no big deal. Get those out of there here in a minute. It's nice to see clean, unrusty metal, that's for sure. And of course, right down there, I've got to drill the spot welds through that spring perch mount to attach it to the frame rail. We got in there. Oh, it's not far from looking like that, is it? Woohoo! All right, so our next step is to drill 3 holes here, 3 holes here, and 3 holes here, and 1 or 2 down there, so that we can weld that to the frame rail. Lucky enough that I've not really hurt myself on these yet, but my instincts tell me take them off, that I'm on borrowed time, so away they go. Well, I'm filthy, I'm sweaty, but I think everything is ready to go. So the next thing to do is to drill some spot weld holes in the back of the frame where it attaches to the spring perch in the back. I think, I gotta look at it, but I think I'm not going to weld up the 2 places that need to be welded up where I pie sliced that until it's in the car. I said I want to look at it one more time, but one way or another, it's going back in for a final fit or going back in like to be in. So let's see what happens. But first thing I need to do is kind of take off a layer of crap and clean my glasses because I can't see anything. It's ugh. So yeah, let's do that. So our next step then is I got to put this support in here like we talked about last time, and I need to drill 4 holes up in here. Looking at the way this frame is cut, I got to make sure I can weld it when it's in the car. I would prefer to do that, but I can weld it out here, so 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I welded the other one obviously in the car, and that worked well. So I think I should be fine, but I had to remember that the quarter panel on that side is missing on the bottom, so I have a lot more room on the driver's side than I will on the passenger side. So we're gonna put this in there, drill our holes, and then fit it in the car and make the determination if we need to take it out one more time or if that's where it stays. So our drama, what will happen next? Stay tuned after these messages. It's always nice to find a piece of scrap that's going to work. This is actually a piece of scrap from cutting out the frame rail, the 2 sides up here. So nice, same thicknesses that we want. So just need to double check the depth, which is good, and make sure I cut it plenty wide so that we don't end up having to do it again and wasting material. Just a little scrap, but I'm not a big fan of these straight cuts, but it's the first pair I saw, so I just grabbed them. And when you're cutting in the middle of a piece like this, it really doesn't make much difference whether you're using right or left anyway, because the metal can't curl up. So straights are probably just as good as anything here. And we have to make this so that it leaves room on the bottom for water and stuff to run through. And of course I want to square it up just a little bit because it's a little bit wonky. Now would be a nice time to have a pair of right-handers, but I could have this cut by the time I found them, so there we go. And we're not looking for anything to be a beauty piece here. Okay, that's good. So now we just need to mark it and cut it. Or I shouldn't say mark it and cut it, but mark it and bend it so that we can weld it in there. I'll be right back. If you haven't noticed, I'm sure you have, the shop is an absolute pigsty right now, and I'm just not taking time to clean it because I want to keep getting progress here, and I was going to work on it Monday and get it straightened up, and a whole bunch of stuff came up at work I had to take care of, so yeah, left at 8 o'clock in the morning, didn't get back until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is not normal for me, but such is life. Okay, good. So we will get the shop cleaned up soon. And of course, I always seem to overdo it a little bit, so we'll just bend that back. It's just due to the cheapinacity of this Harbor Freight unit, but you know what? It works. Okay, first test fit of our piece. It's just a little bit wide. I'm quite sure I can drive it down in there though. Question is, do I want to do that or do I want to just, oh, it'll go. Don't need to drive it. All right, cool. Yep, so we got it lined up. Looks good. So I'm going to make a little bit more room at the bottom here, just so that we got a little more of a water drain so that nothing gets held up and causes a rust issue if we should get moisture in there. Okay, there we go. Again, we're not looking for anything pretty. Who's going to see it? It's inside the frame rail. Okay, it's got a pounding device. Oak persuasion, I believe is what we call this. Catching on a whole bunch of welds. Okay. Definitely see we've got to do a little work. It's tapering down a little bit, which is fine. So I need to just do a little hammer and dolly work on this block to get it to fit once I can get it out of there. If I can. Let's see if these work. Always use the proper tool for the job, right? One thing, keep your eyes open for various pieces of metal you can use. This is actually a piece of industrial rail, railroad type thing. Very small. But a neighbor had it years ago, and he was using it to actually just to weight his trash can down. And I said, can I trade you something else for that? And he said, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to use it for metal work. He said, why don't you just take it? So I've got this really cool piece of railroad rail from a neighbor called Mr. Kohler that my kids will know if they're listening. And so it's kind of cool having something that was his. And all right, let's see if we can dolly this in a little bit here. All I'm trying to do is just make this a little bit tapered. So I'm just kind of putting it on there and just pounding down first and then pounding it in. See, now I put a nice wedge on that. So we'll go try fitting that again and probably have to do a little more work. And of course the edges are bent in too much, but we'll get there. Okay, we got it in there. We'll do a little custom forming of it back here because there's all kinds of welds and stuff. But for the most part, it's pretty parallel to the plane of the suspension stop now. So we should be in good shape so we can weld that in. Just double checking, making sure. Yep, I think we're good. So again, the whole thing is this is just here to keep the frame from crushing. So it doesn't have to be, you know, like super welded in there, but we want to get some good spots on it and weld it on both sides, and just we'll do stuff with it, and then we'll do other stuff with it, and before long the stuff will be all done. I was having a heck of a time getting good welds. It was spattering like crazy, and I thought, well, it must be because I didn't clean everything up good enough. Looked over and my argon gauge was 0, so it wasn't out of gas. I just had to turn the regulator up. It must have got bumped. So I fixed that, went back over it. So the welds aren't the best looking things in the world, but I went over them again and made sure we had good penetration. You can see we were coming through just a little bit on the outside. Remember, this is 2 layers of frame right in here, so it's really thick. So it's going to be stronger than factory by far in here, where that suspension stop hits. So it's looking good. See if I can get you lightened up a little. There we go. So it ain't pretty, but you know, it'll do the job. And of course, more drilling holes. Okay. Put that somewhere, maybe in my pocket where I won't lose it. All right, so we just got to mark out 5 holes here on each side. We had a little situation. You notice that the frame rail took a tumble at the end of the time lapse. We have a new reason to dub this car Stitches. So the frame rail took a tumble off of these stands. The clamp was coming loose. I noticed it. I went to tighten it back up, and before I could, it took a tumble, and a very sharp corner of the frame rail dug into my hand, about a 1-inch gash, fairly deep, and 3 stitches later. So I really do give my blood, my sweat, and if it keeps going this way, you might even see me cry, just a little. We know that Duddy is the one who's often hurting himself over on Duddy's Adventures. And since in the taco challenge we were talking about the comparison ratio between armadillos and wildcats, and even though it appears that armadillos are bigger because the number's higher, we know that wildcats are faster because, well, wildcats. I wanted to continue to bring the game higher and just go a little bit beyond what Duddy does, and not just injure myself in a video while drilling holes, but shed blood and have to get stitches to truly prove that this is the Stitches Challenger project. Maybe. All right, enough silliness. We got one of the 5/16 holes drilled. We've got a bunch more to do, and then we need to drill the 3/8 holes. So let's get that done, and let's get this frame rail in the car. Too much talk. Here we go again. Just talk, 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 talk. fitting good up here. It's not quite fitting where I need it underneath, and I'm sure I know why. Just got to wiggle it around a little bit. I want to get a different clamp on the back of it, but yeah, it's looking good. So very nice. Yes, it's fitting pretty good. It's a little bit low in the back, and I'm not sure why yet, but I'm not too concerned about that. I just got to dig around in here and see. It's off. It's got to come in, and I think last time I had to jack it up right in here. But I got to get it over in position first. I just want to make sure it's not catching on anything and get it up in place. So, of course, I don't want to drop it on myself either. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Yeah, it's still a little bit. Not sure why it's binding just a little bit. That's one of the reasons I didn't want to weld all of this up. Because I didn't want to, if something shifted, I didn't want it to be binding too much. And I think something did shift, and I need to blow a couple of these welds out and just kind of let it fall back into place. That can happen sometimes, but it looks like it's fitting good otherwise. It needs to go this way a little bit, over like this, up in there, but not much. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's caught right there. Okay. I think we need to find our vice grips. There we are. And do this the old clamperoni right here. Very good. Yeah, the rail is just a little bit narrow right there at the top, and it didn't used to be that way. But I dropped it several times, so it's possible something. Oh, nope, it's not. It's stuck out. It's not over all the way up there. That's why. Okay. Nope, we're good. And when dirt falls up your nose and in your mouth, it's hard to breathe. Keep that in mind. This is why we didn't weld all of this up. Again, it was more of an instinctive thing. This bend right here, which I suspected right from the beginning, is just a bit much. So all I need to do is zip that weld there and zip that weld there. It'll relieve itself, fall into place, and this back piece will line right up where it needs to be. It's just a little bit that way, too far. And so I'll take you underneath and show you what I did. As I had said I was going to do, I bolted it to the floor pan in the spot weld holes on each side. So that pulled it tight to the floor pan. And I might put a couple more in there, but that solved everything. And then right down there, that bracket, I can crawl up here. This bracket was bent and holding the frame over. So, you know, we've done a lot of fitment, but we've only clamped it in, and now we are really working to put this thing in permanently. So we've got little things that just need to be tweaked, but everything's looking good. It's looking really good. It's just got a little bit too much of a whoop right there, and it's an easy relief to just cut that spot weld, cut the one on the other side, let it relieve itself back a little bit this way, and we're going to be golden. So that's why we didn't weld everything up when we were putting it in. The front part we knew was good. This back part I questioned if it was going to be. So sometimes you have to make those judgment calls, otherwise you end up having to do a lot more work. I had to do a fair bit of massaging, and I didn't have the camera on because I just really needed to focus on it, but I'll describe what I did. So I put the 2 bolts in there, and I cut this out, which you saw on the time lapse here, so this frame was just kind of relieve itself a little bit. That doesn't mean that it found a fire hydrant, by the way, just so you know. So it relieved itself, and then I got it so it lined up kind of back here. I put the floor jack underneath with the big block of wood right about in here. Just pushed up on it a little bit to get it to kind of fall into place. There's a 1/4 inch bolt down in here. And then, so I bolted that down. I had to do a little pie slicing under there to thin it down like I did on the other side. Got it so it lines up really nice now. It's not putting any pressure on the back of this, so the concern is back here, and I'll show you where the bumper bolts on. If that gets twisted, then the back bumper is not going to line up, and we've created a problem for ourselves. But it feels good and straight. I don't feel any twist in it, so we should be golden now. So we are ready to put this in, and yeah, so I want to think about this a minute. I mean, it's in. It's not coming back out again at this point. There's welding to do, stuff like that. But very happy with the way this is. Very happy. So what I was concerned about is, you know, by eye at least, I don't want this to be twisted. We can tweak it a little bit here and there if we have to put the bumper on, but obviously we want it to be right so we don't have to. And you can look down it, and it's pretty straight. It's got a little bit of a kink, not much, but I don't think it's not because of the. No, it's definitely not because of the frame. If I'm concerned, I'll put a level on this and just check it before we final weld. And I can put up pressure on here to bend this in a little bit. I just want it to match side to side, but they both are tipped in a little bit. It's flat at the where these here, but it's kind of twisted on both sides. So either both sides are off or it's right. I'm putting my tacos. Didn't have tacos, had pizza, but whatever. I'm putting my money on the fact that it's probably accurate. So when I get a little further along back here, one of the things we're going to be ordering is a bumper so that we can put the bumper on the back and make sure that everything fits when we start putting the quarter panels, all of that. So again, as you're going along, you need to buy the parts that you need for final fitment to make sure that your fabrication isn't off. And even if you're not fabricating, even if you're installing factory bits, bolt stuff on and off as much as possible so that you know everything is lining up right, so you don't get any surprises when after you paint the car and you go to bolt something on and it doesn't work. That sucks. You don't want that. Been there, done that. So fit, 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 fit. And once you fit, the past tense of fit is fat. So just saying. Just so you see up in here what we've got. Looking good, lined up, matches the spring perch mounts. We've got the next thing we're going to do is this floor pan, just like we did on that side. We'll make that same piece. But before we finish that, we're also going to put the subframe connectors in, which, remember, this gets cut off for those of you who haven't seen it. This gets cut off where it's supposed to be. I made it extra long on purpose. And then we drop a piece or slide a piece of 2x3 box tube down in there and push it back in a ways up to where that brace will be, which is about right there is where that brace is going to be for that suspension. So and then on the other side, again, I just got to open all that back up because I changed what I was doing. I was going to do something different and change my mind. So that floor pan is obviously not attached. This one we have to make yet, like we did that one, and get the subframe connector in, and then this car should be stiff as a board. There's one of our 2x3 box tubes right there to make the subframe. They don't need to be anywhere near that long. I only need them about 3 feet, but I got 2 5-foot chunks because why not? So you can see everything is in place. It's lining up really nice. Bolted in place there temporarily. Remember, I didn't have to do that on the other side because that was already in there. Do need to double check that axle bumper and make sure it's true to the other side, but it should be because I made the measurements. We're ready to weld this in. So let's talk about the next steps. We shouldn't have to take it out of the car again. It's done. I'm kind of excited to get a rear end under this thing and be able to put it back on its feet again. So what's coming? Of course, we have to weld that in, get that done, finish the welding on the frame itself, make the floor pan, and then next week I'm really hoping to be putting those subframe connectors in. I have a guest coming, probably be on next Friday's episode. It may be a later one, but somebody that I'm anxious for you guys to meet. He's been around the shop here quite a bit over the years in all the various iterations of my car shop, not just here, but other places I've lived. Been a good friend for a long time. So I'll just not say any more about that, but he'll be up here from Ohio next week if all be well, and we will be ripping on the Challenger and doing some other things. As long as life stays settled down a little bit, I should be able to be out here working more again, and I'm excited about that. So a lot to do yet, obviously, on stitches, but we've done a lot. And the reason I'm not welding the frame in today is I like to just have a little space from it, get a little fresh perspective on it, and look it all over one more time with fresh eyes before I commit to it, because once we start welding it in, it's a whole lot harder to take it back out again. Now, again, remember, this is metal. If you do something wrong, it's not that big a deal to cut it back out. In other words, you're not totaling the car. Obviously, it's a lot of work, and you're going to spend a few more days cutting and welding and, et cetera, et cetera. But point is, it can be done. We just want to be extra cautious and make sure that we don't have to. So far, the way it's looking, I'm pleased that I'll check all that stuff, as I said. But we are ready so that hopefully the next episode on this car, we're welding that sucker in for the first time, and we will have 2 completed frame rails and a completed gas tank strap trunk floor support that we have all hand fabricated on this car. And some of you have watched every minute of this, and you have felt the pain and the frustration and the process and so forth. And yeah, we got a lot of time into this, but in the scope of the project, it's fun. Who cares? And that's what this is all about. Yeah, we could have bought it, as we've said in other episodes. It's not just about saving the money, although that is important to me. If I didn't enjoy doing this, I would just sell parts, sell a car, sell something to get this done. But instead, I only spend a few $100s on sheet metal and some time. And I would venture to guess, I'll be generous and say that I've got 75 hours into this, maybe, probably not even. 60 hours, probably more accurate. So it's really not. It's a little over a week of work if I was working on it every day, all day, 8 hours a day. So it's not that much time in the scope of life if you have the time. So if you have the time, you enjoy the escape of the world, and you like seeing something that you made from hand, this is definitely something you can consider doing. It's not something I'm recommending. I'm just saying this is a way. And of course, the whole point of stitches isn't just cutting some blood, but we're stitching this car together, a car that most people would have scrapped, car that came out of a junkyard on a pile, and we're putting it back together one stitch at a time. And that's the fun of it. So that doesn't mean every car we do on this channel is going to be this way. This is just the way I decided to do this car. I talked with Jessica from Super Clean this week, and we have another Super Clean drawing coming, so watch for that. Be sure to check them out. They've been really a good support to the channel and very encouraging, and providing product here for the shop, and we appreciate that. This is not a paid promotion. It's just that they're providing materials that we can use, and it's just my way of saying thank you, to mention them on the channel, and to give away some of their product once in a while. It's just a cool thing that's going on. That's going to do it for this episode of My Car Shop. We put out episodes every Tuesday, every Friday, and every Sunday, and we will continue to do so as long as life allows it. We appreciate you being here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do hit the bell so you receive those notifications. Every subscription matters. We're trying so hard to reach that 500 mark. And I've had so many channels that have started behind us and have surpassed us. None of us understand why our channel is so slow in growing. But it is, and that's okay, because the one thing I do know about the subscribers on this channel, you guys are diehards. And to prove that, I've got something coming very soon in an episode. It's not here yet, but I'll give you a hint. It's coming on a truck and weighs 580 pounds that a viewer purchased for the channel and donated for the shop. That's how hardcore the viewers are on this channel, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. You guys do awesome stuff for me, and I want to continue to do awesome stuff for you. Thank you so much for enjoying the channel. If you are on Instagram and on Facebook, /MyCarShop. And one more thing, not the thing you're thinking. It has been brought up to my attention again, and I introduced this show a little bit differently to try to make it clear. My Car's Shop is because my name is Mike and my last name begins with R. Mike R's Shop. My Car's Shop. That's where the name came from. My wife came up with that name when we were going to open an auto repair facility back in 1988 in Marquette, Michigan, and we ended up not doing that. But the name has been there ever since, and when we decided, and this was, she and I both made the decision to try to do this YouTube thing. She was very encouraging, and she said, do this, you're good at this, you're good with the video, you're good with the cars, you have stuff to share with people. It didn't take long before we said, this needs to be My Car's Shop, or Mike R's Shop, or Car's Shop. Thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. We'll see you on the flip side. Rah!